We were just talking earlier, of course, you got your start with Vermont skiing coming here to Killington when you were at Syracuse, of course, to meet the lady who would later become your wife. And that's a great story. But tell us some more about how you got into the industry in general and how you get to where you are today.
Thanks, Parker. Nice to be with you all, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. My first job in the industry was really working for the Eastern Ski Association when it was headquartered in Brattleboro, Vermont, and was involved with freestyle program operation there and membership benefits, and that was the principal, my principal function for working with ESA. It took me around the eastern United States in the competitive side of things, running freestyle program activity, and one of the places that I visited was Jack Frost Mountain down in the Poconos. And I was asked to come down there and join Jack Frost as assistant general manager to a gentleman by the name of Wes Smith, who was a great guy. And I was there for 2 years, and he got a job offer from someplace else. And I had a great opportunity at 26 years old to be asked to be general manager of that area. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I knew was that I had to work hard, work hard, work hard. And I was there for 10 years, and then accepted an opportunity to come back to Vermont, to Jay Peak, and work with a wonderful gentleman, Jacques Hebert, who was the owner of Jay Peak at the time, and been there for 30 years. So it's the short story, not the novel.
Kelly Falk has a great story. Her career started at Mount Snow right out of college, right? And tell us some more about your career path.
So I went to school in Burlington at Champlain, and at the time Bob Newhart was very popular on TV, and so I thought I would like to own a country inn. And when I graduated, I had to find a free season's pass because I was off the dad plan, and I would like to be close to my then boyfriend, who later became my husband, who was going to UMass at Amherst. So I looked on the map, Mount Snow looked good. I interviewed for a job there in the group sales office as their secretary, and been there ever since. So one of the jobs I had was running the lodging bureau, Central Reservations, and I became very close friends with many country inn owners, and I realized that I didn't want to do that. So I basically was the person that if something needed fixing, or if one of my bosses seemed frustrated, I'd be like, "Ooh, let me go do that." So I just bopped around the mountain, and finally I thought, I could probably run this place. So that was my next path, and I was always like, "Ooh, please pick me." And they passed me up several times for very good reasons. And finally, several of the people that I worked for were great mentors, and they would tell me to do something like, "You got to work on this," and you just keep working on those things. And finally, they gave me a chance, and it's been great. So I've been able to, every weekend I look at our ski resort as a country inn, and I want every guest to have that special experience. However, I do get to go to bed at night, and nobody wakes me up to the doorbell, so that's good.
Now, Mike's background is in finance, which of course means he knows every reason not to be in the ski industry. But he is all the same, and we're very grateful for the fact of his leadership here at Killington. And so tell us some more about your background.
Yeah, I guess I have probably a different background than most in the ski business. I didn't grow up skiing. I grew up the youngest of 6 boys in New Jersey, and like most big families, my parents were, you could play any sport with the shoes on your feet, but we don't really buy equipment and that type of stuff. So we didn't grow up skiing. I didn't really ski much, a couple times in high school. And, so for me, I was working in Boston in finance, and one of our clients was Rossignol Dienestar, and they needed a CFO. So, by then I had started skiing a couple times a year, and said, wow, Vermont sounds like a cool place. So moved to Burlington to be the CFO up there, and was there for 7 years, and got a call from Alan Wilson here to come be the CFO at Killington. So, definitely a kind of a roundabout route. Most of the people, it seemed like, have started in the ski business since they were little, and that I guess the one thing I would say in the ski business, which is different than a lot of other businesses, I was talking to some students the other day and asking about this, how do you become the president of a resort? And within Powder, which is our parent company, I went through all the different people who run our resorts, and what's interesting is every single one of them came from a different part of the company. I came from finance, somebody came from mountain operations, another person from ski school, from human resources. So it's interesting that there's not exactly one path to this, which I think is pretty exciting for the next generation.
And Sky, you have a story very similar to Kelly's. You started your career at Stratton, I believe. Tell us when that was and where you started and how you get to where you are now.
Absolutely. I'm from the East, but went to Colorado to school for skiing and had anticipated sort of staying out there, but got out of school, didn't really know what to do with myself, so came back to the East and decided I really liked to ski. So came back to Vermont and started skiing, took a job on the patrol, and worked on the patrol for about 7 years. Furthered my love of skiing in the mountains, and never really had sort of a plan necessarily, but kind of like Bill, just kept working hard and had the other issue where I could never say no. So somebody go, do you want to do this? I'm like, sure, I'll do that. And worked my way up through mountain operations, and then landed in the president GM seat about 12 years ago, and loved every minute of it. It's been an awesome career to be part of, and a great industry, both those that are in it and all of our guests. It's really just a great group of people, and like Bill, I've been at Stratton now for, I think, I've lost track actually, but I think it's 32 years, and so like Kelly, I've been there sort of since day one.
Excellent. Now, we all know that snowmaking is truly the linchpin for the ski industry and has really been the game-changer technology developed over the years. And in fact, now Vermont's proud to have 80%, actually probably more than 80% statewide snowmaking coverage, more than any other ski state in the country can even claim to. And all of the resorts here have developed their snowmaking technologies to be more efficient and more productive and keeping pace with the technology. Kelly, I know, turning to you, fan guns were a big dynamic that have come to the fore at Mount Snow. Can you tell us a little bit more about that change and other technological advances and efficiencies at your resort?
Mount Snow's a mixed bag. We have the technology of fan guns. In 2007, when Peak Resorts purchased Mount Snow, mostly they own ski areas in the Midwest. They 100% believe in fan gun technology, and we purchased 251 SMI fan guns. And in the Midwest, if you get 1 day of good temperatures, you make snow and you open 100% the next day. That's how you have to do it. It's a little different in the Northeast. So the fan gun technology is great if you have the capital. Each fan gun that you put in is about a $30,000 investment. And it's not only buying the gun and mounting it on the hill and the foundation, but you also have to electrify it. It's just like a hairdryer, you plug it in. The great thing about it is there's an onboard air compressor. So all of the compressed air that used to come from mountain operations, a building at the bottom of the hill, we were able to eliminate all of the rented diesel air compressors, which is about 200,000 gallons of diesel annually. So that's gone. We haven't rented 1 cent. We do own some electric air compressors. But the fan gun also has a very far-throwing reach, so you can't put it on any trail. And at Mount Snow, we have lots of skinny little classic New England ski trails. So we still have a lot of the air-water technology, and this year we have invested, we've done a test with Efficiency Vermont, and we purchased the HKD Impulse gun, and that's worked really well for us. Because what it does is it takes down the amount of CFMs that are needed, and it's all about moving air around the mountain. And the future for us, and some of our competitors may be way ahead of us, but the future for us is trying to minimize the amount of air. It's instead of opening up the entire mountain and air just going out, and then you have friction loss and holes in pipes and everything that you're losing the air, is we're trying to isolate and have zones. So that's the future for us. There's just so much work that we have to do in snowmaking, but we are proud that we have been able to make the step with the fan guns.
And we know that J Peak doesn't need snowmaking, so they have a J Cloud. Although it's probably true that Bill still needs some snowmaking now and again. So, Bill, if you could tell us a little bit more about your expansions.
Well, I think the thing that all of us are dealing with regard to snowmaking these days is the importance of recovery. The amount of water you pump is really the heart and soul of almost every ski area operation these days. Kelly's mentioning how much more efficient gun design has become, especially guns like the HKDs and the fan guns. But what you're finding, I think, throughout the industry is the volume of water that an area can pump is increasing substantially. The size of reservoirs, the amount of water that can be pumped at any given time is accelerating because the need to recover is something we've all seen more and more. You need to open quickly, you need to recover quickly, you may need to make a lot of snow in a short period of time, and these days the amount of water you pump is really far, far more important than the amount of compressed air that you have, because the technology is changing in that direction, but the volume of water that we pump is really the key to things.
Mike, tell us.
Yeah, Mike, tell us a little bit about your expansions here at Killington and at Pico in the snowmaking.
Yeah, I mean, just to follow up on what Bill was saying, I think, this year kind of exemplifies what he was talking about. We had a lot of cold temperatures. We had a lot of periods where every time it seemed to warm up, we got rain. So when that happens, it's pretty important to have a powerful system to really get back and get the conditions back. But, for Killington, in terms of technology, we need a little bit of everything. We have kind of every one of those tools. You've all skied it. You see how big it is. It's not like one specific technology really works well. We have fan guns. We have them all. But, it depends on the winds and all those types of things. And, obviously we get open pretty early. This year we opened end October. Stayed open until the end of May last year. Obviously, that's not happening without man-made snow. So, that technology is really critical, for the length of season that we're trying to accomplish, but more so for the, making sure that the recovery out of those rain events is even better. So I think, that's the big thing we've been noticing, and our customers have been giving a lot of great feedback on how quickly, after a kind of a tough weather event, we've been able to recover.
Scott?
Yeah, similar story for us, but I just want to piggyback to what Parker said. The coverage and the size of snowmaking, I think we'd like to say we have the biggest snowmaking system in the United States as a state, because nobody else really has the capacity that, or is invested in the capacity that all of the areas in Vermont have. And so everybody, to Kelly's point, sort of in a little bit different place, but I'd sort of just piggyback on what everybody else said. Recovery, water pumping capabilities at Stratton anyways, we're up to about 11,000 gallons of water a minute. We've mostly been on the HKD tower gun program. We have about 800, 850, but it's really after the two things that have been mentioned by all of us, water pumping capacity and recovery is really what we're really trying to strive. We're now at about 95% coverage, so the ability to be able to put a lot of water and convert that to snow in a quick and efficient manner is really what we're all trying to do. And I think the other thing, as Kelly mentioned, which I think is really important from the environmental side, most all of us are, trying to either reduce and or eliminate, particularly the use of diesel air compression because of the emissions and the fossil fuel usage. Most everybody's either going to gun technology or electric air compression technology. There's very few big diesel air plants left in Vermont, if any. I know we hope to end ours in the next year or two, and I think Kelly's pretty much done with hers. So that's certainly another big focus, I think, for all of us.
Great. And at Ski Vermont, we're always being asked what the resorts are doing to expand into four-season, amenity-driven resorts to kind of offset some of the vagaries of Mother Nature during the wintertime. Sky, at Stratton, what have been some of the success stories for you folks in reaching out into the summer activities, whether it's golf, weddings, kind of the adventure races, that kind of thing?
I think continuing to try to do all that. I mean, we have golf, tennis. We've dabbled in some of the adventure races. We've had concerts. It's obviously, for some of us, it's still a bit of a challenge trying to compete with the Atlantic Ocean. So trying to figure out how to, reposition summer in Vermont, because when you do get people to come up here in Vermont at any one of our areas, most of them stand back and really enjoy the time that they have here. So I think trying to promote, along with the help of Megan and the state, trying to promote biking, trying to promote outdoor activities in the state of Vermont. Certainly our proximity to market gives us a great opportunity, much like it does in the winter, to offer that outdoor experience. So I think we're just trying to take a larger rounded view of what's great about our state in the summertime, and try to convince more people to come up and give it a try, because once they do, they generally come back.
Great. Mike?
Yeah, similar. Obviously we've been mostly focused on winter. I mean, summer's a challenge, I think in general for a lot of the resorts, as Sky mentioned. So, you need sort of a balanced approach trying to decide what's right. And we've had mountain biking for a long time. The challenge we've had is it's, at the very, very high end, very, real high-end mountain biking, and not really great for the family. So it's been a little too challenging. So, some of the things we're looking at is trying to expand that lower level mountain biking. And kind of like Sky was talking, Vermont's got such great mountain biking in general that's free. And we're trying to figure out how to piggyback with the town and some other things of just making it more of a destination, that it's not just coming to Killington maybe for downhill mountain biking, but you can do all these other things. And there's so much great free mountain biking like you have up in the Northeast Kingdom, and I think it's that type of thing that we're looking to expand it.
Great. Kelly, you've got the Tough Mudder has been a really good source of filling some of that capacity in the summertime. Tell us more about that and the other things that have worked well for you.
Okay, so Tough Mudder is one of the extreme challenge races. It's a 10-mile run with obstacles, military-style obstacles. And we've been with Tough Mudder. We've had one or two of their races each summer since they started, and it's been very successful. They bring in thousands and thousands of competitors. These are cult-like events. And the great thing about Tough Mudder is it fills every bed in the valley, every seat in the restaurants. We were able to fill a few of Sky's beds in Brattleboro, Bennington. So it's an economic boost for the valley. The risk that you have is that they trash your mountain. So if it's poor weather, like rain, you could really have a problem on your hands. We've had to work very closely with the Forest Service on erosion plans, and I think that we've come a long way. We also know that Tough Mudder could pack up and leave tomorrow. A lot of people want them to be at their resort, and we have a balance system. If it gets to the point where we don't think it's worth the risk of the mountain being able to regenerate all of the terrain that gets trampled on, then we'll walk. So we know it's not there forever and ever. And I'm sure that other events will come along that people will, fat follow. Summer's tough. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg type situation. Do you build it and they will come? Or do you have to get them to come and then you build it? And we're not there yet. We haven't made that, we're going to put in a mountain coaster. And it's easy for us because one of our resorts is in North Conway at a Tash Wildcat, where that's where people summer vacation. So it makes so much sense to put summer capital there until we figure it out. But one thing we are trying this summer that I'll throw out is family camps. And family camps are the basic premise is unplug and connect. So you come as a family, think Dirty Dancing. No, is Dirty Dancing the one up in the yeah. Catskills. So you unplug, you turn off your computers and phones and everything while you're in the programs, and then you can obviously connect with your family. So that is starting this summer. We've been working on it for a year now, and hopefully that will bring us a nice new group of people. We also have the same hotel at Mount Snow, the Grand Summit, and it has been great for us because we do weddings, conferences. Our hotel staff are busier in the summer than in the winter. They're like, oh no, here comes summer. So that has been really good for us. Niche marketing is very, very important in the summer in the ski industry.
Of course, Bill has summer year-round with his indoor water park at JP. Tell us more about that, Bill. Are there any seasons that are busier than others for that park, and what else do you have? for summertime amenities?
Well, between May and November, you've got seven months, and I think the secret for all of us and for the state is the fact that we've got a really authentic, wonderful brand, and we have genuinely 4 distinct seasons. And each resort, and certainly in our case, we try to take advantage of the seasons that were dealt. Now, in the case of spring and fall, you get rainy, raw, and rotten some of the spring and some of the fall. And one of the things that we have added at Jay is I think, a pretty innovative indoor water park with a retractable roof, so that in the summer when the weather is good, we can open that up and it feels like you're outside. That's been a wonderful addition for us. Being located right on the border, hockey is a passionate part of Eastern Canada and part of New England. I had a group of about 7 of my staff went down to the Bruins game the other night. Half were Canadiens fans and half were Bruins fans. It was an interesting ride down, and it was an argument on the way back. I wasn't in the car, but I heard they had a good time. But hockey, with our indoor ice arena, we now have 40 tournaments a year. We welcome teams from Eastern Canada and New England. They come to Jay, they play, they bring their siblings, their parents. It's a wonderful source of destination business, and it's all spring, summer, and fall as well. This year we're doing 80 weddings at Jay. We have 60 conferences in our conference center. So between golf and weddings and water park and ice arena, the mountain biking program at Burke through Kingdom Trails is a wonderful program of community-based mountain biking. So, we're trying to take a page out of what Vermont is and make sure that the patchwork quilt of the Vermont brand is something we offer, and to the degree we can control the atmosphere in our water park, which we can. It's always 85 degrees, and it's always sunny. So that's something that's been a real pleasant addition to Jay. And the 7 months of the non-ski season will always be a challenge, but we think we've got a pretty good formula for it, and it's working for us.
One dynamic we're starting to see, particularly the Connecticut school districts, we're hearing making some real structural changes to their school vacation periods. And we're not sure where that's going to go if they break up a President's Week into a couple or several shorter vacation periods. Might that be better for us? We're not quite sure. Are you folks seeing some changes in your core markets, vacation schedules structurally, and any concern there, or perhaps there might be some opportunities where you may be able to pick up sort of an extended array of blocked times off for families who obviously sometimes need that shorter period of time to get away to begin with. Sky, obviously Connecticut's a big market for you. What's your experience there?
Definitely seeing a shift. The President's Week holiday is obviously not as big as it used to be, given these school breaks. Certainly for some of our market in the private schools, we're basically seeing school breaks from mid-February all the way to this week now. So you sort of never know. It's sort of hard every year to kind of plan when they're going to show up. And then, of course, if there's a lot of snowstorms like this year, then they all start pulling back. And that's, when Hurricane Sandy hit down in the coastal area, that had a huge effect on us. From a visitation standpoint, because not only were people dealing with the tragedy of the event, but school districts just pulled right back, and it was kind of a shocker to everybody, I think, when that vacation period kind of sort of evaporated last year. So it's been definitely a challenge, but at the same time I do think it's an opportunity, because it does extend it reduces that peak load during that time and kind of extends that business out through the balance of February and March.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah, we've seen the same thing. I mean, last year, obviously, with Sandy, that really impacted us in our market. President's Week was pretty soft. This year, we really thought it was going to be a lot better, but it seems like some schools have started to structurally change their schedule. And in that market, they've got a lot of snow this year, so some of that caused some problems with snow days. So the President's Week, I think, for us is kind of the most uncertain piece. MLK, that weekend used to be stronger years ago, and it seems to not be as strong consistently. It's still a great weekend, but not to the point where it was at one time. I think for us, the challenge I think we have is, last year Easter was this week, which was great. We had probably 2.5 times the amount of people here all week than we do this year. And you can see with the conditions you guys were out, this is the time of year when we really should have people out skiing. So, I mean, it's tough. People want to ski in Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving, we have a lot of terrain open in Vermont, but you know, relative to this time of year, the conditions are so much better. So that's the challenge. If someone can lock Easter right around this time for us in the future, that would be helpful.
Kelly, are you seeing changes in the structures of your vacation periods or different vacation habits of the traditional periods?
I'm seeing the same thing these guys said, so I won't elaborate because it's almost like we have the same thing going on.
And Bill, you were able to tap into the Canadian vacation periods as well. Are you seeing any shifts either between the domestic vacation periods or the Canadian periods over the years?
No, we just like the fact that we start vacation period around the 12th of February and it stops around April 1st. The 2 weeks of the President's Week, and then we get into the Quebec school breaks for 2 weeks, and the Ontario school breaks for 2 weeks, and we love it that it's busy but not crowded for all those periods, and the diversity of the Canadian vacation structure helps us a great deal because we're 90 minutes from Montreal and 3.5 hours from Ottawa and 6 hours from Toronto, and it's a marvelous market, and they have totally different vacation structures than we do in Vermont and in southern New England and in the Mid-Atlantic region. So the more spread out and the more broken up it can be, I think the better it is for all of us because the product's better. You know, if they all took 1 week off in February, it would be one busy, crazy, overwhelming week. And for us, we much prefer it. Be busy, but spread out so everybody gets what they hope to, which is a good product and good service.
So, Bill, you've obviously got a lot going on up at Jay Peak and a lot more on the blueprint and going under in the ground even this summer at Jay and at Burke Mountain. Can you tell us some more about what's coming online?
Well, we have this four-season thing that we talked about a few minutes ago. We have about a 40,000 square foot indoor recreation center that will have a movie theater for 200 people, first run movies, climbing walls, ropes courses, all indoors, large family arcade and a family restaurant, which will open next fall. At Burke Mountain, we have a hotel that will go in, start construction this spring. At Jay, one of the biggest expansions that we're working on is what we call the West Bowl, which is 175 acres of glade and trail, 3 lifts. We are within eyeshot of the final state and federal permits on that. We expect to see that completed by the end of this summer, fall, and hope a year from now we'll be cutting and clearing. That is a magnificent part of the mountain. It's wind protected, sun exposed, gets the best natural snow of any of the acreage at Jay Peak, and will add significant intermediate terrain to our offering. If you were to criticize or comment about Jay's terrain makeup, we've got lots of great skiing, but if we could offer more intermediate, true bread and butter intermediate terrain, that would be a good addition. And the West Bowl will allow us to do that. So bed-based growth at Burke, more four-season activity at Jay. The West Bowl is on the horizon, which will really be a wonderful addition. And we're busy and anxious for construction season to start.
So Kelly, Mount Snow's been taking a page out of the book of Stenger, EB5 investors, and you hit the ground running with that, and with some big base area development on the horizon at Mount Snow.
Right, so at Mount Snow, 75% of our trails have snowmaking, and we don't have a large water source. We're almost magicians on some days, the way we're able to stretch our water and put the snow on the trails. We have a lot of great trails that don't have any pipe, and we can't take another step forward until we build a snowmaking pond. So We have plans, we're 95% through the permitting process to build what we're calling West Lake, and it's a 120 million gallon pond, which will allow us to pump 10,000 gallons per minute, so it's going to be much more in line with what our competitors are doing and help us with that recovery, but also allow our skiers and riders to experience those natural snow trails that they're open today, but if it were a snow drought year, they wouldn't be open today. Along with the West Lake project, we're calling Phase 1, Corinthia, where our Corinthia Parks program is. There's a new base lodge, there's residential, and there's the snowmaking infrastructure, including the pond. Then Phase 2, if you've ever been to Mount Snow, the base area, Walsh on Connect started building it in 1954, and some of the buildings are original, and as much as we love the history, there's a lot of inefficiencies also just in the buildings themselves. The way that you get a keg from the basement to Cousins is like that game Mousetrap. So we hope to be able to find the funding through the EB5 program, and the second phase would be the base area. Every single building goes except for the Grand Summit Resort Hotel, and we would improve customer flow, skiing services. We don't have any plans to build a village because we have two very strong villages in our town, Westover and Wilmington, but the skier services and the places that you would eat and drink and dine, they will have a village, kind of a Vermont village feel. There are several phases, including moving our mountain operations to be slopeside, and Snow Lake Lodge would sadly go away also. So it's a big plan, and it's going to take probably a decade and a lot of money.
So it's great legend, actually I guess it's true legendary story of
Walsh Act applying to the Atomic Energy Commission to detonate an atomic bomb at the base that was at Corinthia, the north face, in order to increase vertical. Makes sense. Is that permit application still pending? Do we know? Mike, what's online? What's in store either this year or out years here at Killington and at Pico, or the Killington-Pico Interconnect?
It's still on the list. You know, I mean, the nice thing for Killington, you know, since Power bought us, we've really had a lot of investments, so we've put a lot of money into the resort, and we put in a new lift out of Bear. I think most of you been to the new Peak Lodge?
Oh, yes.
Well, you're all at the dinner, and then hopefully you had lunch there. One of the nice things, you know, about the Peak Lodge, from a lunch standpoint for us is, you know, it's obviously the most upscale. It's mostly all made to order type, you know, farm to table type food, no fry later. So we really tried to change the type of food compared to any of the other lodges we had. And the interesting thing is, you know, it's a good problem, but we've been a little overrun most of the time up there. So what it tells us is that, you know, while people say skiing is expensive, you know, they're willing to pay for something they see good value in. So that location has kind of proved to us that people will spend money on the mountain. And so we've been working also to try to, you know, improve some of our food operations, and some of you stopped by the yurt. So it's a lot, you know, we've been doing a lot of little things to try to grow the experience, the motorroom bar, some of these types of things to, you know, not necessarily always money-making things, but just add to another reason to come here and want to stay multiple days and add to the experience. So, you know, those are the big things. You know, last year we spent $10 million, so that was a pretty big capital year for us. You know, probably the next big things down the road. We're still working on a village where it looked like it could be a couple of years out before we could break ground on that. But, you know, that's really the next big thing happening here.
Sky, what's on tap?
So this summer's mostly going to be mountain operations related stuff. We hope to invest again in a significant number of tower guns, as we talked about in the snowmaking discussion. We're going to be replacing our gondola cabins. They've been there for 25 years, so those will all be replaced this summer and in operation for next year. Like Kelly, we're kind of working on facility revitalization plans, so well, I'm not sure we're going to take anything down to the ground necessarily. We're working on those plans in both food and beverage, And last year we made a significant investment in our Stratton Mountain Inn, or now Black Bear Lodge. We renovated all 122 rooms in that building and hope to continue that process as we go down the road. The other areas I think several mentioned was just food in general, obviously trying to capitalize on the growing agro-tourism sector in Vermont and make that a bigger part of not only our experience at Stratton, but I know everybody's kind of working on that, because I think that's something that really differentiates our resorts from many of our competitors in other states because of the great long history of agriculture in Vermont. And then the final thing, much like Bill, sort of on the all-season side, I forgot to mention it in the summer thing, was we have the Wanderlust Yoga Music Festival in June. It's now going to be with us for another 5 years. We hope to continue to expand that and not necessarily do that festival any longer, but continue sort of its reach. Like Kelly, it's something that brings a lot of tourism to the area as well. And looking for another 1 or 2 events like that can become sort of anchors in a particular month that really capitalize on everything that's special about Vermont in summer. So that's where we're headed.
Great. So this was an exciting year with the Olympics in Sochi, and we couldn't be more proud to have 19 Olympic athletes with strong Vermont ties competing there and bringing home 6 Olympic medals, which represented about 35% of the total USA medal count, which is pretty cool for a state our size. And we have here, obviously, 4 resorts with significant contributions to the Olympics and Olympic history throughout all the years. Sky, starting with you, tell us more about the Stratton Mountain School and your contributions to the Olympics past and presently at Sochi.
Yeah, it's been a really nice, and I think we've all got individual stories to tell, but particularly this year for us, we had 14 athletes from either the Stratton Mountain School or Stratton that participated in the Olympics. Alex Debo from snowmaking won a bronze medal. I will tell you that I hope they move that into a different time zone so that I don't have to stay up all night watching these things live. But we had Sophie Caldwell, who's a native of Peru, Vermont. Her dad is the Nordic coach at the Stratton Mountain School, had the highest placed women's Nordic finish ever in the Olympics by making the finals of the sprint competition. It was just a great story. We had a couple employed kids, Jackie Hernandez. Her mother works for us in our reservations department. She made it to the snowboarding team. So with 14 athletes there this year, it was just something that made all of us just really proud. And I think given the large number of athletes from Vermont in general, it was just a really exciting Olympics to know that we had so many sort of hometown great people representing our sport and performing extraordinarily well. It was really, really exciting.
Great. And Mike, of course, we had Donna Weinbrecht with us for this NASJA conference. She was out there, I guess, today getting folks around the mountain and yesterday. And that's obviously a real tribute to Killington and your contribution to the Olympics in the past. Tell us some more about the Killington Mountain Academy.
Yeah, so we have Killington Mountain School. You probably saw up in the hill on Highline, we've just started to expand some of that trail for the mountain school. We've actually cleared some of the skiers right on that trail to add a bump competition. The goal would be down the road to have a lighted venue. So, we've really been working well with the school trying to, really try to grow the race and some of the other parts of the school. So they've been doing really well. And obviously we have a great history with Donna and you heard from Dan this morning and trying to keep them around to teach a lot of people and so that's really worked well.
That's great. And Kelly, of course, Mount Snow, a big contributor to this year's Olympics. Tell us about it.
Well, if you pulled into Mount Snow on Saturday, it really wasn't Mount Snow, it was Mount Logan. And everything was rebranded Mount Logan for Devin Logan, who placed silver in women's slope style. And our town hosted a parade for her. And Devin went to Mount Snow Academy. She also went to the public school system, grew up in our town. Her mom owns a candle shop. Her brothers are amazing freestyle skiers. She started ski racing and they, just laughed at her and told her to get on the twin tips, which she did and kept up with them. And I think that following them around really helped her. But we've had a lot of Olympic athletes and we tend to specialize in freestyle terrain, and I think that Corinthia Parks has a lot to do with it. So Kelly Clark, when she won her first gold, our town went crazy, and it just made us realize that even though we're a very small town, that any child can realize their dream. And Kelly and Devin has spent so much time at Mount Snow Academy, at the Dover School, at Twin Valley High School, just talking to the kids. That was kind of the theme when Devin was home this past week. She signed autographs for 2.5 hours straight. She's great. And then on Sunday, Nick rolled into town. Nick Gepper came in third in slopestyle. He's one of our C-Team sponsored athletes also, and he's still in town. He started as a young guy. He came from the Midwest and kind of fell in love with Corinthia Parks, and we started sponsoring him. And then he just started going big, and one of the local country inns sponsored him back when he was just a kid and needed a room. And I went to the Rotary meeting this morning. There's Nick having breakfast at this country, and they're still putting him up when he comes to town. So it's a great story for us. I think that the kids in our town realize that an Olympic dream it can happen. So.
And of course, Burke Mountain Academy is the oldest of 7 ski and snowboard academies in Vermont. Vermont has the most ski and snowboard academies of any ski state in the country. And Bill, obviously, with Burke Mountain Resort tied into that, as well as several athletes in the Northeast Kingdom near JP.
Michaela Schifrin is a name you've heard, and I think you'll hear again. A remarkable athlete. A year ago, she was a senior at Burke Mountain Academy, and I think you know that Burke Mountain Academy dates back to the founding of it in the 70s when Warren Witherell initiated the school being founded. It is a remarkable facility in the sense of it takes 70 athletes, both Nordic and Alpine, scholastic excellence, and certainly Alpine and Nordic ski racing excellence. That young lady is just an example of what Burke Mountain Academy puts out. And I think we'll see 4 years from now, should she stay healthy, which, she's a great athlete, and I think that she has an opportunity to really do wonderful things in the giant slalom and perhaps even beyond. Being only 19 now, she has at least 2, if not 3 more Olympics ahead of her. But the thing that we've learned from Burke Mountain Academy in our development plans at Burke is to try to develop some physical facilities that can bring Olympic caliber athletes in other sports. In addition to the hotels that we are going to be constructing starting this spring, we're going to construct a world-class Olympic quality aquatic center. And I mentioned a few minutes ago hockey and how popular it is at JAG. Scholastic swimming teams and diving teams are every bit as plentiful and dedicated as hockey youth programs. And there's a shortage of quality swimming facilities in the Northeast and in Eastern Canada. So we're going to be building a beautiful swimming facility. And we've really said, well, what's right about Burke Mountain Academy? It's excellence in scholastic work, but it's also providing them with the best possible alpine ski terrain. We're going to do that for swimming and diving there. We're also going to have an outstanding indoor and outdoor tennis facility. We'll have 20 courts. We'll have 8 of them indoor. We'll have different surfaces for an indoor experience for our guests, and again, expect to develop camp and intensive training programs for tennis athletes, both at the junior and adult level on a national and international basis at Burke. So you've got great skiing, a great mountain biking program. We'll have a great aquatic center and a great tennis center, and it's all designed to foster year-round activity, year-round visitation, but keep on pace with what the Academy has done for alpine ski racing. Do it for mountain biking, do it for aquatic activity and tennis as well.
Fantastic, thank you. We've got about 10 minutes or so to open up to all of you for open mic questions. Anybody you want to ask specifically or around the horn? Go ahead.
From this side of the mic, you have very similar businesses selling very similar products. Can you talk about what differentiates you from each other economically, philosophically, operationally, and how you expect us to differentiate?
Let's go first. Bill just reached out.
Well, one of the things that we're all in is we're in the alpine ski business. And at the core of the brand of the state of Vermont, we've all of our resorts were founded at a time when Perry Merrill, the Commissioner of Forest and Parks 60 years ago, in cooperation with the state government, dedicated numerous mountains in Vermont to alpine skiing. And it is a sport that challenges and rewards the human spirit like no other. So the foundation of our winter sports world here revolves really around alpine skiing. So we have that in common. And that is a fire that burns in the heart of every ski area manager and employee. And it's something that is a core value. And I look at those of us that are sitting here and the rest of our ski area operators as allies, as team members, as people who we work together with. Yes, we compete, but I don't look at these folks as competitors. I look at them as colleagues. Now, how we differentiate, I rattled off a number of things. Indoor water park, ice arena, wedding program, mountain biking. We are pushing hard for all of our niche markets. And we're pushing into markets into Canada and all over the world for the programs that we have. Because without sustaining true year-long fiscal operation of some substance, it's a damn tough business to be just in skiing. And you almost can't survive on just skiing anymore. The cost of capital and the capital cost of lifts and other things, you've got to have some semblance of year-round operation. And in our particular case, we've laid out a plan and a patchwork quilt of all these other things that we're doing now. And I just listed a bunch at Burke that are innovative. And the winter is the core, but the rest of those 7 months, you better have a lot to offer in order to compete and drive your capital and keep your people employed and keep your community vibrant from an economic development standpoint.
And I would just echo what Bill said. When you have that staff member, when you have a snowmaker, you have to find something to keep them employed year-round and give them benefits so they can raise a family in your valley. So it is important to have something. You may not be even breaking even in the summer, but it's vital to your winter operations. We hope to get to the point where we're making money 52 weeks a year, but we're not. Bill is, I don't consider him our competitor, but I consider these guys my competitor, because when I survey people and ask them where else they ski, they say Stratton, Okemo, Killington, Stratton, Okemo, Killington. And I'd love to tell you that the ski industry, there's people just knocking on the door and all these new people are coming in, but they're not. So, market share is important. And the differentiator for Mount Snow, if you want to talk to people about it, is proximity. It is Corinthia Parks. That's how we're trying to get the next generation to get hooked on our sport, is just give them this fantastic Disneyland type of environment on snow. For us, the Bluebird Express is now a game changer because people are covered and they're warm and they don't have to take their skis off. And Mount Snow is intermediate's heaven. There's just so many intermediate trails. If you love Jay Peak, you'll probably hate Mount Snow because it's intermediates all over the place. It's 50% New Yorkers. There's people everywhere, and we all just it's not for everybody, but the people who are there lap it up. They love it. And when I first worked there, I was like, are you kidding me? You know, I was skiing all of these places around Burlington. I'd never seen crowds so big in my life, but 30 years later, it's what I thrive on. It's like, how can I make these crowds happy? How can I fit them in and make everything work well? So Mount Snow is very different than Northern Vermont. Okay?
Yeah, just to elaborate, I mean, I think, obviously all the resorts are different. I think that's what's unique, and I think to me it's important for, I think we think Vermont has the best resorts, but they're all different. So, from Killington specific, we're the beast of the east, and to us that means, we're big, a lot of variety, big mountain skiing, like you get out west, but on the East Coast, we like to think it's pretty hard to ski the whole mountain in one day, so we think of it as more than a day trip. It's really, a weekend. You need maybe a full week to ski here. So, I think there's a lot of differentiators for us. It's, longest season. We try to get open in October and, made it till the end of May last year. We have a real hardcore following. So, we're trying to really embrace kind of who we are. That's our differentiator. And, we have a really passionate group that likes to ski here. So, as I said before, I think, when we mess stuff up, they let us know. They're a vocal group, and, they love the mountain as much as we do. And, so we're just trying to make sure we can, live up to that.
So sort of similar themes, but I think one thing that, maybe going back to Bill, what we do in the southern part probably compete a little bit more than Bill does. I think one thing that we're trying to continue to rally around is the authenticity of Vermont, and focus our energy sort of internally to drive people to Vermont, and then we'll duke it out once we get them here. So, keeping our sights sort of on New York and New Hampshire, making sure that we're sort of outrunning them and offering that great experience. But I think a couple key words that I think were in everybody's points were, it's really sort of about facilities, market, and terrain. That's what really differentiates us. We're like Kelly, we're not the steepest mountain in the world. We're much more of a cruiser, a little bit more affluent market. We have a self-contained village at the bottom, so our facilities generally sort of differentiate us from Killington, which is a much bigger mountain, much more advanced terrain. So I think that's one of the things, at least down in the southern part of the state, and certainly with Bill, just our terrain and our facilities tend to differentiate us, and where we draw our primary markets from also differentiates us. Because if you went as Kelly and Bill were kind of jousting over there, if you came to Kelly and I, you'd see a very different market than you see at Bill's. And they are very passionate about telling us how well we're doing or not.
Another question? Go ahead, yeah.
In the last few years in New Hampshire, there seems to have been kind of a proliferation of zip lines and canopy tours and that sort of thing. And, as some of the biggest guys in Vermont, I haven't heard any of you mention that, and I'm curious if it's not cost effective, or you think there's too many of them, or if there's any thought about it.
I guess we do have the 4 resorts who don't have zip lines, and Okemo, but I mean here.
Right.
I'll jump in on that. Part of the things that we didn't elaborate too much on the summer, but that's part of the plan as we move forward here. We're trying to balance, I think, the authenticity that we talk about with not making it, fully amusement out. So for us, the balance is we're on state land. So, but we look to, we're looking to put a small zip in this summer. And, we've got plans on the table now for a mountain coaster and some bigger zips. But we have to figure out kind of how to make them fit into the mountain and into that, the overall design. So we do have a plan, and I think that's where we're moving.
We have 2 or 3 of them on the drawing board, but as you've noted in New Hampshire, there's zip line A, B, and C, and if you're going to add D, it better be different than A, B, and C. So it's really find the right plan, make sure it's different, and don't just assume that if you put a zip line in, that it's going to do what you hope it will do. So we're trying to learn from those that we've seen and really come up with something that would be distinctive and interesting enough for people to travel and enjoy it with us. Good question, though.
Other question? Yes?
Certainly one of the things as you plan out for 10 or whatever your management plans are, capital investment is a big issue. Bill, you've had some rather creative ways of capital investing. I wonder if you'd talk about what you've been doing up at Jay and Burke and what the others are doing at their areas.
Well, the biggest challenge that resorts have, across the board is access to capital. Because of the real estate changes that have occurred since, every 10 years it seemed, for the last 25 years we've had one roller coaster after another. And, the lifts that you see built and the major capital improvements at ski areas historically have been tied to a movement of second home purchase. There hasn't been a lot of resort second home activity in North America in the last 6 years. Some, but mostly in the world of resale. So capital is hard to come by sometimes, and in our particular case, we've benefited from the EB-5 program that is a foreign investor visa program where someone invests in a program that's approved by the federal government, and they invest in a project, they create jobs, we get access to capital, they get a green card, and there are economic stimulus that occurs in a particular area. For us, that's worked extremely well. We've welcomed over 600 investors from 74 countries. We've raised over $250 million of equity capital for the various things that we've done. And we're now involved in some projects and programs in our community in northern Vermont where things that have nothing to do with skiing are going to improve the economic diversity in Orleans County as well as Caledonia County. So it's been something that's worked well for us. Kelly has a team there that's getting involved in the EB-5 program because it is a viable way to raise capital, patient money, to do things that will create jobs in rural high unemployment areas. And all of Vermont, with the exception of Chittenden County, qualifies for this program. So it takes a lot of work. It is not easy, a tremendous amount of detail, and it's an extremely competitive marketplace worldwide right now. There are over 450 regional center projects in the United States. There are 2 or 3 that are ski resort focused, and we're one, and Mount Snow is now another, and there will be others that will come along. But that's been a cornerstone of how we've been able to do what we've done at Jay is raise capital through that program, and it's worked very, very well for us.
I mean, the only thing I'd add is, we haven't really, for us, expansion, we've talked about the village. The biggest challenge for us in the village really hasn't been an access to capital issue. The funds were pretty well funded for that. For us, it's been more of a permitting issue with some of the permitting issues in Vermont are a little challenging, and locally we've had some opposition. So one of the great things is it's challenging to build sometimes in Vermont, and that's one of the reasons it's so beautiful. But from the flip side, different parties can really hold that up. So for us, it's been more of a permitting issue than a capital issue. So it's just a little different.
I would just add that phase 1 that I mentioned earlier is $52 million. We're looking for 104 investors. We've just started, so we don't have the investors lined up. So it's going to take them jumping on board, and then there's a due diligence process where they have to show that they have the money and they're going to come look at our project. So we're not there yet, but we're hopeful.
I think time for one more, Rob? Keep going. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah, Mary.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, my son did a tough letter in New Hampshire, and I talked to somebody there, and they said that they did not capture the information from participants who were in the tough mudder, and I can't remember why, because But if there was a way to get those names and say, I see you came up for our Tough Mudder and contacted them in the fall and said, why don't you come try the skiing? Is there some way to do that, or is there something with that particular, just that ski area, or do you have a way to do it?
Right, I'm sure that's probably gun stock, and the way that it works with Tough Mudder is they don't share that information. So you register online through the Tough Mudder website, and none of that is shared. So you don't have a way to do that. It would be up to gun stock to do on-premise cross-selling, merchandising, maybe a voucher with every parking pass that they sell, something to that effect. That's what we've had to do. But Tough Mudder keeps that information very close.
Any other questions? Besides, when does Cocktail Hour start?
Well, thank you all. Oh, there is one more. Go ahead.
That's one question. I'm sort of fascinated by the Epic Pass and what Vail does. Is there ever been a Vermont discussion of something comparable to an Epic Pass?
Well, we almost have a quorum of the board of directors here. That's always been a difficult issue, I think, because the fact remains that we are so close to our core market. And so you're going to leave a lot of money on the table by going to something that's sort of tantamount to being a locals pass would be used by our core market, and then you don't have that core market revenue influx for those seasons passes. And I don't know if there's other perspectives.
Yeah, the other thing I'd throw out, Scott and I actually were talking about this before the meeting. We were owned with Mount Snow by American Skiing Company, and it had a joint pass, very similar to Epic. At the time, it was a low price point, $500 range price point. The problem with that in our markets, we tried it for a bunch of years, and so it sounds great. Oh, it's a reasonable price. It'll get more people skiing. That's good for the business. You'll make more money on cheeseburgers and beers and this and that. But, we did it, and the math doesn't really work very well. It's sort of the same math of why everybody doesn't say we need more midweek pass holders. You should make, or midweek skiers, so lower the price to $20. The math doesn't work. It doesn't bring enough more people. So we tried that, and typically what we found, at least at Killington, Kelly can talk to Mount Snow, but it made it more crowded and we made less money. So that math's not really very good, because obviously you need to make enough money to be able to pay for the capital investments that these resorts require. So for us it was tough. The experience ended up being worse because it made it more crowded, and we didn't, from a profitability standpoint, it didn't really math out. So, I think Vail's a little bit of a different mix because parts of it are destination. They got a lot of people, buying that from a aspirational, I'm going to go ski out west type of thing. In the East Coast, we get a lot of usage on those products, and we typically had to lower our price to that, so it didn't work very well for us.
I would just add that I was running the marketing department at the time that we rolled out the All for One Pass, and in the first year it was pretty successful looking at the numbers, and we were pretty proud of ourselves. And then what people found, because we tracked very closely how many times people skied a year, because it was such an attractive price, kind of like when that local gym throws out the $99 special and everybody goes and buys it, then you realize you're still not working out. Well, there were a whole bunch of people that didn't ski. So the next year we had to go find new people, because we had to hit those numbers. So by the third year, the marketing team, we were just like, we have nowhere else to go. I was on Wall Street today handing out flyers to people. I literally did that. It just becomes tough to fill the numbers that you need. And the peak days, we all have them already, became even busier peak days. And we called it sitting on the stairs and eating on top of a garbage can. So unfortunately, it didn't work for our facility in the way that we're the size of it, quite honestly.
Any other questions?
Marty?
How much do all of you think about global warming? Is it a hoax? Is it something you're really concerned about?
It's a hoax. I think the comment I made about snowmaking and the importance of recovery does address, I guess you'd call it climate change, or trends in weather, where we see these wide swings where it might be warm and then cold. And we have to have the ability to recover quickly. I'm not going to get into the geopolitics of weather. I think about weather in 10-day bites. All I know is 10 days, and beyond that, it's 10 more days. But I know that the ability to recover in our business in the East is really, really important. And that's what I focus on, is water pumping capacity. And so to the degree there's this debate, I mean, here we have this incredibly cold winter in the Northeast, and I'm still hearing people say it's global warming here. So it's hard to comment on. It's just the recovery goals that we have, though, as snowmakers. I think that's a real core element of what we're doing now, and you'll see it continue.
Yeah, just piggyback on what Bill said. I think we all talked about the investments that we've made and we're making in snowmaking to, whether climate change is happening at the rate that, one weather person believes it is or isn't. And then I think the other thing that you heard throughout all of this was just a continued focus in sort of the off-season, building that other side of the business to the best of our ability. So, if it's coming, I think we're as prepared as we can be, the investments we're making. And I think, we've also all, as we said earlier, from sort of the diesel side, I think we're all trying to do what we can from a sustainability standpoint so that we make sure that we're, doing our part in that area as well.
The question? Yes, Mary Jo.
Well, I have to ask this question. What are you all doing to attract new customers? You made a comment, Kelly, about wish there were more, but there aren't. So what are you doing to get them?
I'll start with that one. I think we talked before about I think we're always trying to figure out new innovative products and things we can do to bring new people into the business. We've talked, I think, this morning about our new Elan program. We basically took a 4-day Learn to Ski program. And for the same price this year, we gave people a pair of skis at the end of the 4 days. So 3 days they learned on our product. 4th day they came in and got their new ski. We mounted it for them and they learned to ski on the 4th day on this product. So, that's pretty innovative. I think it takes away the barrier, some of the cost barrier, and some of the numbers that we've been seeing on that program are pretty dramatic. And now the challenge with that is, it's an expensive program. We took a program we had last year, a 4-day Learn to Ski, and this year we gave them a $150 pair of skis. So, that's pretty expensive, but the numbers have been dramatic. Our latest numbers for that, so we had 400 pairs, and 92% of the people that signed up actually completed all 4 days. So in our world, we call that a converted skier. And, that's pretty dramatic compared to, maybe 15-20% for most people that go through Learn to Ski that become converted, depending on the metrics you use. So, that's a small program we're trying to do. It's a little harder to try to scale that to really big programs, but we're looking to roll that out for a snowboard next year and maybe even some kids programs. So I think those are the innovative things that we're trying to do to try to grow the sport.
I think the other overriding thing that Mike was kind of referring to, I think there's a greater synergy between the sort of 3 components of our business. So us as the resorts, the manufacturers of all the equipment, and then the specialty retailers. There's more conversation going on amongst those 3 groups have had it, and I think Mike's program is a good point in that. There's obviously 3 big programs within the resort side: Learn to Ski Month, Bring a Friend, and then the whole terrain-based learning thing that are all aimed at making the experience better and trying to attract people. But I think the broader effort is trying to bring these 3 segments of our business together, which in the past they've all kind of operated independently, and I think there's been conversation at the highest levels of all those organizations to try to work together more collectively to support the efforts and do innovative things like Mike talked about.
At Mount Snow, I think we do a pretty good job with our loyalists. We know who they are, we are finding out what they want, we're trying to take care of that. But we know on any given day, 25% of the people at Mount Snow are newbies. And I think that we don't do a good job with those folks. And here I am crying that we'd like some new skiers. So in the fall, we hired a director of marketing technology, because I really think technology is one of the ways that you can capture new skiers, and his primary job is relationship marketing. So when a new skier comes to Corinthia Parks or comes to the mountain, it's capturing their data and it's developing a relationship with them. And you will see that everywhere, whether it be Liftopia or Gates. You're trying to capture, at the very least, a name and email address so you can start building a relationship. So that's one thing we're doing at Mount Snow.
Specifically at Jay, we've added a mountain learning center for our kids program, and this is the second year for that facility with its own carpet and its own learning area. It's a terrain-based approach. It's been very successful for us, and I see it continuing. The equipment today, as all of you know, is so much better than it's ever been. Boots are comfortable, they're warm, they're better. The skis are versatile and better. So when you look at better made snow, better equipment, learning facilities, you wonder, well, what the hell's going on? Why isn't the sport growing as much? I think Skye mentions a point, there's quite a bit of experience in the industry here, and there's a tremendous amount of history in this audience of writers that know the industry for many, many decades. We have been talking about cooperation between retailers, manufacturers, and resorts for 40 years. Mary Jo, how many NSA, SIA programs did we have? And it really boils down to focusing on the fundamentals of letting people know what a wonderful sport this is, that it's close by in some form or fashion, and it's affordable. And we've got to make sure they understand how to get involved in an affordable way. I think the number one thing that scares people off who are not born into the sport or have a friend in the sport is the fear of the cost. There's also the fear of injury and the fear of the cold. But the cost is the barrier until they realize that it's worth every cent. And there are so many ways you can get involved in the sport that are affordable. You all know what those are. So it's and I find at times when we're talking about new skiers and entry level, there are a lot of things that have worked over these decades of the industry, the last 40 years. And we get on a roll and start seeing progress occur, and then we get bored. We have to find some other new thing. It's the fundamentals of you're not going to get hurt, we're going to keep you warm, it's going to be affordable, and it's going to be fun. And it's going to be the most fun you've ever had in winter. And that's the core, isn't it? Make it affordable, let them know that they can learn and not get hurt, that they're going to be warm, and they're going to be able to afford it. And if they do those things, it'll be a core recreational energy level for them for the rest of their life. And that's not new, is it? But it is the core values of what drives our sport. We can't repeat those things enough to the non-skier or snowboarder.
Any other questions that may be wrapped up here? There's one more hand in the back.
Just a quick question for you. Bill, you earlier alluded to the downturn in the real estate market and the economy in general since 2008. We've seen Vail take one approach through the Epic Pass, an approach that you all don't seem to think will work here in Vermont. Do you think that the old model is broken? Do you think there's a need within the industry to come up with a new model beyond simply real estate sales, lifts and passes as the engines to drive your resorts?
Well, I see it every weekend at Jay, and I know my colleagues see it every weekend at their resorts, and that's families that ski together. I had an opportunity a week or two ago to sit on a chairlift with my grandchildren and my daughter. How many sports do you know of where a 4-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 65-year-old can be riding the lift together, talking about the same thing, having the same exciting experience, and doing it together, whether you're male, female, and whatever age it is. I think what drives our sport and what is truly dynamic about it is it cuts across age and sex, and it's male, female, it's grandparents, parents, and kids. And when you come to a resort as a family and you stay together and you play together and you experience a weekend or a ski week together, it is unlike any other vacation experience that I have ever participated in my life. And I'm in the industry, but I have seen family vacation experiences across the spectrum. And there is nothing like a ski vacation. And when I say ski, I mean ski and snowboarding. It is dynamically unique, and it really inspires families to be together, and it goes generational forward. And I believe in it, and I see it, and I think that is a foundation building block as well. So, is it a new paradigm? No, it's what, in this age where cell phones and iPads are dominating your life, you can come and come to an area, put your skis on, go together, ski in the woods, ride a lift together, be so damn tired at the end of the day because you skied all day that you just have this wonderful feeling of exhaustion. And it's the same feeling your 9-year-old granddaughter's got because she's passed out on the couch because she skied hard all day. I mean, these are wonderful things. And that's what we get to do and offer. So we can't repeat it enough. We can't emphasize it enough. It's such diversity, but that family ski experience is a remarkable core value of our industry.
A question. We live in Minnesota now, and a huge component of our skiing is a couple things outside of skiing and snowboarding. There's Nordic skiing. There are resorts we go to regularly in Minneapolis, up north of Minneapolis, where they're dedicated to Nordic skiing. I know you have it in New England, Tech grew up here. And snow tubing, I know you got it behind the lodge. Where do they fit into the overall marketing? I know the resorts, it's a huge, Buck Hill, where I ski patrol, it is a huge revenue generator for snow tubing.
Scott?
Sure, I think that, absolutely, I agree 100%. I mean, we're trying to evolve our Nordic program at Stratton sort of on the back of the success of the Stratton Mountain School team. But, we have some great Nordic areas in Vermont, stretch all across, from the Kingdom Trails to Trap Family Lodge to, a lot of smaller ones. Same with snow tubing. So I think you're absolutely correct. Those are revenue generators for our business, but most importantly, I think, and kind of to Bill's point, they're experience enhancers. And I think one of the things that we're all trying to do is get people to just love winter. And obviously, we want them to come downhill skiing and snowboarding. But at the same time, there's many people that don't. So the diversity of offerings at all of our resorts throughout Vermont, I think, speak to your point exactly. And I think we're trying to continue to figure out how to promote that as part of something that is special about coming to the resorts of Vermont. Is not only do we have downhill activities, but we also have these other ones in tubing or Nordic or some of the other amenities. And food, I think, is a big part of that as well, too.
Might be all set. Okay. Well, listening to these four amazing individuals, it's no wonder that Vermont is the #1 ski state in the East, and of course, just #3 in the country behind Colorado and California. And I want to thank the panelists. That was outstanding. Thank you very much.